Stand here 500 years ago and you would not find solid ground at all, but a shimmering lake city rising impossibly out of dark water. Inside Tenochtitlan, the great Aztec capital that vanished beneath a modern city, buried under centuries of stone, silence, and forgotten memory. Before Mexico City ever existed, before its cathedrals and highways, this valley held one of the largest, most advanced cities on planet Earth. Tenochtitlan was not simply built beside a lake, it was built inside one, floating on reclaimed earth in the middle of Lake Texcoco's waters. Nearly 300,000 people lived here, more than London or Paris at the time, all connected by canals instead of muddy dirt streets. Within 2 centuries, this empire would rise from nothing at all, dominate central Mexico, and then vanish almost entirely within a few months. The story begins around the year 1325, when a wandering people called the Mexica saw a sign, an eagle perched on a cactus, devouring a serpent. They believed their gods had spoken clearly,
Behold,
marking
this
this
swampy,
swampy, mosquito-ridden island as the exact place where their capital must be built. Other stronger tribes had already claimed the fertile shores, leaving the Mexica only this unwanted patch of marsh rising from shallow water. What looked like a curse soon became their greatest advantage, an island fortress that no rival army could easily reach, surround, or besiege. Engineers built chinampas, floating gardens woven from reeds and river mud, anchored by willow roots into an endless green, watery checkerboard. These artificial islands produced maize, beans, chili peppers, and flowers all year round, feeding a population that most cities simply could not. 3 great stone causeways stretched toward the mainland, wide enough for 10 men to walk shoulder to shoulder, built entirely by human hand. Wooden bridges along these roads could be lifted at key points, turning the entire city into a fortress the instant any enemy force approached. Fresh water flowed in through a long stone aqueduct from Chapultepec, carried across the open lake to fill fountains and reservoirs below. At dawn, canoes filled the canals like traffic on a modern highway, carrying vegetables, pottery, firewood, and passengers toward the market. The great market at nearby Tlatelolco stunned Spanish visitors, who compared it to anything they had seen before in Rome or Constantinople. 60,000 people traded here daily, bartering cacao beans as currency for gold, jade, feathers, cotton textiles, and hand-woven rubber balls. Children learned in schools unlike anything found in Europe, one built for commoners, another for nobles destined to become priests or warriors. Streets were swept clean every morning, waste was collected by canoe, and public latrines lined the causeways for weary travelers passing through. Music drifted constantly from temple courtyards, drums and flutes marking the hours the same way that church bells mark time across Europe. At the city's sacred heart rose the Templo, a towering pyramid honoring the rain god and the god of war, painted in red, blue, and white. Priests climbed its steep stone steps daily, their bodies pierced with cactus spines, offering blood in rituals meant to keep the sun alive. The Mexica believed the entire universe was fragile, that without constant sacrifice and devotion, the sun would simply refuse to rise again. Warriors trained from early childhood, and capturing an enemy alive in battle was prized far above simply killing, feeding both empire and faith. Tribute poured steadily in from conquered cities across the region: gold, cotton, cacao, exotic feathers, and captives flowing toward the capital. By the year 1500, the Aztec Empire controlled millions of people across central Mexico, all ruled from this single island city on the lake. Emperor Moctezuma the Second ruled from a palace so vast it reportedly contained aviaries, botanical gardens, and a private zoo of rare animals. Nobles wore cloaks woven from quetzal feathers and jewelry of jade and gold, while commoners were forbidden by law from such lavish display. Visitors described gardens blooming with flowers unknown anywhere in Europe, fountains flowing with fresh water piped in from distant hillsides. To outsiders arriving slowly by canoe, The city must have looked less like an ordinary settlement and more like something conjured from a dream. Then in the year 1519, strange ships appeared off the coast, carrying pale-skinned men in steel armor and animals no Mexico had ever once seen. Hernán Cortés and his small army marched steadily inland, forming alliances with rival tribes who despised Aztec rule and craved its downfall. When Cortés finally reached the long causeway leading into Tenochtitlan, even his hardened soldiers stood frozen in place, stunned into silence. One conquistador later wrote that some of his men wondered aloud if what they witnessed before them was even real, or simply a fading dream. Moctezuma welcomed the strangers cautiously into his city, unsure whether they were conquerors, ambassadors, or something else entirely unknown. Within months, rising tension exploded into open violence. Moctezuma died under disputed circumstances, and the Spanish were driven from the city. They returned in 1521 with thousands of native allies eager for revenge, laying a brutal siege to the island capital for 75 long days. Smallpox arrived alongside the soldiers, a disease no one in this valley had ever encountered before, spreading faster and crueler than any army. Canals that once overflowed with canoes now filled with the dead, as starvation and plague did what enemy weapons alone could never accomplish. Street by street, temple by temple, the city that had risen from swampland across 2 centuries was reduced to smoking rubble and grey ash. When Tenochtitlan finally fell in August of 1521, one of the greatest cities on the entire earth ceased to exist within a matter of mere months. Spanish colonizers built their new capital directly atop the ruins, burying temples, palaces, and canals beneath fresh colonial stone streets. For centuries afterward, the lost city existed only in legend, until construction workers began unearthing carved stones beneath Mexico City. In 1978, electrical workers accidentally struck a massive stone disc depicting a dismembered moon goddess, and a new excavation quietly began. Archaeologists have since uncovered temple foundations, sacrificial offerings, and skull racks hidden directly beneath busy modern city streets. Today, tourists walk casually through downtown Mexico City, completely unaware they are standing directly atop the heart of a vanished empire. Millions of descendants of the Mexica still live scattered across this valley, their language, food, and traditions quietly surviving conquest. Tenochtitlan did not simply disappear one day, it was buried, layer by layer, beneath the very city that eventually rose up to replace it. And yet somehow, beneath the concrete, the canals, causeways, and temples still seem to whisper their story to anyone patient enough to listen. If this journey into a lost civilization captivated you, take just a moment now to like this video and subscribe for more stories like it. Tell us in the comments below which vanished city or empire we should reconstruct next, because history is still waiting to be fully uncovered.